Welcome to the High Level Wife Podcast. This is a space for Christian wives who love God, want their marriage healed, and are done performing, fixing, striving, or trying to control their way to change. Here we're going to talk about marriage God's way through right order, surrender, heart posture, and spirit-led transformation. This is not self-help, it's discipleship. My name is Chelsey Holm, and my role is to help you move from awareness into obedience so real healing, wholeness, and restoration can take root. Let's begin.
Welcome back to the High Level Wife Podcast. I am your host, Chelsey Holm. We do marriage God's way here. Today, we're continuing our series, The Identity of a High Level Wife. And today's conversation is going to be simple, but it's going to expose everything. And here, High Level Wives, we want God to expose the dark corners of our heart so that we can be more aligned with Him, with His Word, with His heart. Okay, is God actually first in your life? Not in what you say, not in what you believe, not in what you know, but in how you live. Because here's the core truth for today. You can say God is first and still live like He's not, right? That goes back to the last episode, or in the episode before that, James 1:22. Do not merely listen to the word and so deceive yourselves. Do what it says. Action is required, not for salvation. Salvation, we simply need to receive the gift, right? Confessing with our mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in our heart that God raised Him from the dead, and you will be saved. That's salvation. We're talking about our walk with the Lord now. Okay, Matthew 6:33 says, seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Seek first. Seek is an action. It's intentionally going after something, right? Having something in mind, a destination in mind. We are seeking God first, not occasionally, not when things get hard, not after you've tried everything else, though that's usually when people seek. And I know that for many years, the very, very early years of our marriage, and honestly, for most of my life after coming to the Lord, after receiving salvation, right? After stepping into salvation, receiving His gift, my walk looked a lot like following Him here and there, seeking Him here and there, and really leaning in when things got hard or I didn't understand something, right? And it wasn't until somewhere a little after those early years of marriage where I turned to the Lord fully and said, I'm not just going to seek you in the hard times, I'm going to seek you all the time. And that changed everything, right? When He is first, when we seek Him first, everything changes. God first is not a feeling, it's a function. So most women think that putting God first looks like quiet time, prayer, reading the Bible, going to church. And those are important, but it's not the full picture. Putting God first means He leads your thoughts, your emotions, and your decisions. Because think about this. Think about the early church, the establishment of the church. Go read Acts. Okay. I love Acts. Acts is that holy fire, spirit-led transformation, God's glory and power on display, and people's heart response out of reverence for it, right? They didn't have the Bible in the same way that we do, right? They didn't have church in the same way we do, but they had it better. They had the original, God's design, right? We have to look back to Genesis to see God's design for marriage and then supporting that design and how we walk it out in Ephesians, in Peter, in what are some of the other ones? It doesn't matter. Okay. But the point is that it's not in the checking of the box. That's not how we seek the Lord. And I'm going to keep unpacking that for you because I know that it's a challenging concept to understand and for me to explain, right? Because it's one of those things that it's like, we know this, but do we actually do it? And how do we actually do it? Okay, so let's make it real here. So when something happens in your marriage, what leads? Is it your emotions, your fear, your need to control, your desire to be understood? Or is it God's truth? Okay, sit with that question for a second, because the way that we react reveals what is in our heart and what is actually the navigational beacon of our lives. Okay, when crisis hits in your life, where do you turn to answers and help first? Is it your friends, your family, ChatGPT, the internet, right? Because that's where your navigational beacon is. That's what you're seeking first. Okay. So through challenge, our hearts are revealed, right? We love to say, oh, I have peace, I'm patient, until we're tested. It's through the testing, it's through the pressing that new wine is created. So, what leads you reveals what is actually first. And you don't have to guess what's first in your life. You can see it because what you default to, react from, lean on, that's what's leading you. And for many women, if we're honest, it's not God, it's emotion, control, fear, self-protection. I mean, can we just talk about the distractions of our day, right? Are we checking out because we can't handle it and we don't want to deal with it? Are we numbing because we don't want to deal with it? Are we lashing out because we have to deal with it on our own backs, right? These all reveal how do we spend our money? How do we spend our time? Where do we go in times of crisis? What do we seek? These all reveal, right? On your worst day where you are the most frustrated, what is overflowing out of your mouth and controlling your thoughts and how you act? That reveals the actual state of your heart and what you're seeking first. So this is where we go back to that Leviticus 9 and 10. God gave instruction, they obeyed, his glory fell, they responded in reverence. And this is what happens when God is first. But in contrast, again, when God is not first, we don't follow his instruction. We follow our instincts, our emotions, our opinions, and then we wonder why things feel off, right? The two sons of Aaron, they were struck down because they did this way. And also, as I was doing some research into that, there's because of the following verses about not being given to wine or strong drink when entering into God's holy places, it suggests that they actually did these things while under the influence. Think about that, right? How do we make stupid decisions when we're under the influence? Absolutely. Under the influence of unwise counsel, under the influence of substances, right? And then we wonder why things feel off. You cannot be led by God and your emotions at the same time. And this is important because your emotions are not bad, but they can mean, but they are not meant to lead you because emotions are reactive, fluctuating, circumstantial, and God is steady, true, and unchanging, right? This is why it's really important that we understand that emotions need to be acknowledged and named, and we need to root in truth. Otherwise, we become that boat tossed around by the sea from wave to wave because we don't have an anchor. We have to anchor in truth. That goes back to the SAFE framework I've talked about in past episodes that we use in High Level Life. So when you feel triggered, frustrated, hurt, overwhelmed, the question is not, what do I feel like doing? I was just telling my kids this today. You know, if I did what I felt like doing, there are so many bad decisions that I would make. A better question is, what is God leading me to do or not to do? Ask that next time you feel like screaming at your husband or your kids or demanding me time. Rather than what do I feel like doing, what is God leading me to do or leading me not to do right now? Trust replaces control. Putting God first requires trust. And this is where most women struggle. Look at the state of our culture today of the anxiety, the depression, the substance addiction. Why? Because trust looks like letting go of control, letting go of outcomes, letting go of needing things to go your way. Right? I think of think of the perfectly aesthetic house of your dreams, right? Like when you walk into that, what do you what is it that you experience, right? If you're like me, you walk in and you're like, this is beautiful, but I feel like I can't sit or touch anything because I will ruin it. It's the equivalent of putting plastic coverings on your pretty couch and then nobody wants to sit on it because it's uncomfortable and it makes weird noises, right? Taking that plastic off is letting go of control, letting go of outcomes, letting go of the need for things to go your way, because it's not about our way. It's about aligning our way to the way of God, right? Denying our way, crucifying our way, taking up our cross and following Christ. Proverbs 3, 5-6. We all know this verse, but do we actually live it, right? It's not about knowing, it's about putting it into action. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight. It's not your understanding, it's not your logic, it's not your perspective, but you trust in the one whose ways are higher than yours, whose thoughts are higher than yours. You trust in the one who makes a way where there is no way, who speaks into existence that which does not exist. Your understanding of logic and perspective is so limited and such a sham compared to the one, God. Let's do a little bit of a truth check here. Control says, I need to manage this, but trust says, God, I follow you, even if this doesn't go how I want. Because God transformation never looks like we want, but it's so much better. It's never in our timing, but it's so much more complete. Okay, I can say that firsthand, not just for me personally, but yes, for me personally, but also in every single transformation that I've seen from every single wife, every single husband, every single couple that I've had the opportunity to work with. Okay, we can trust that it will be so much better. It always is. God's plan is always so much higher and so much better than ours. When God is first, everything stabilizes. Not perfectly, not in the worldly sense of all of a sudden we are uber successful and our bank account is just overflowing with money and we have all of the things that we've ever wanted. No, that's a prosperity gospel. That is not reality of walking with the Lord. But we are overflowing with blessings that the world only dreams of and can't really name because they refuse to deny themselves and they would rather deny God. Okay? Because now you're not reacting, you're responding. You are not controlling, you are surrendering. You are not striving, you are aligned. So the next time something happens in your marriage, pause and ask, who is leading me right now? Is it my flesh? Or am I walking in the spirit? And then shift back to God. God, align my heart with yours. Give me eyes to see as you see. Use your light to expose the dark corners in me. Because a high level wife is not the woman who has it all together or always feels peaceful or never gets triggered. Actually, she's probably the woman that gets triggered the most, but does these things because she's the woman who returns to God as her source again and again. Okay, we train not perfection inside high level wife, but we train awareness, realignment, obedience, and surrender. It's all about that heart posture because God is after the heart. We see this throughout scripture from Old Testament to New Testament. It's about the heart. God desires our heart, not our sacrifices. We see that in Old Testament. In New Testament, Jesus says it's not just murdering somebody, but it's about thinking that in your heart because it's about the heart. Because when God is truly first, everything else begins to fall into place because then you have a right view of God, which means you have a right view of yourself and a right view of others. If your marriage feels unstable or if you feel reactive, overwhelmed, or stuck, let's try that again. If you feel reactive, overwhelmed, or stuck, it's not because you're incapable. It's because something else has taken the lead. So what is first in your life will shape everything that follows. So the question is it God or something else or someone else or yourself, right? Is it God? In the next episode, we're going to go deeper. Why you must be well before your marriage can be. because God doesn't skip you to fix your marriage. He works through you. Hey, keep your mouth shut, because the conduct of a godly wife can win her husband without a word. I'll see you in the next episode.
If this episode stirred something in you, but high level wife feels like too big of a step right now, I want you to hear this clearly. You don't have to jump ahead to honor what God is doing. I created a short guided experience called From Awareness to Surrender for women who aren't ready for ongoing support but know they can't stay where they are. It includes 3 short teachings, a guided exercise, and a prayer I recorded over you. It's going to help you move from awareness into real response. You'll find the link in the show notes. And if you're not ready even for that, don't rush past this moment. Sit with God and ask Him what obedience looks like next.